The silence before fire, the stars above. Earth were silent as always, but tonight that silence felt different. The space station. Harmony 12 had just sent out a deep space probe after a strange signal came from beyond the edge of the solar system. It was not a distress call, it was not a known language, it was just a sound like a heartbeat echoing through deep space over and over, like someone or something was calling. Earth by name Commander Rafe stood in the observation room staring at the empty darkness beyond the glass, his hands behind his back, his heart beating a little faster than usual. He had served in Earth space command for 20 years, seen strange things, heard stranger tales, but something about this signal crawled under his skin. He asked the station AI for updates, but the voice only replied, "Probe communication offline." The screen showed the last image sent by the probe, a massive floating structure wrapped in shadows, no energy readings, no movement, then nothing. Just blackness. He left the room, walked fast through the white corridors toward the command center, where a group of officers whispered near the main console. They stopped when they saw him. Rafe asked if the general had been informed. One nodded, but said the general ordered radio silence. He frowned. That made no sense. They lost a probe, and instead of reacting with caution, they locked it down like it never happened that night. Rafe went through old access codes and decrypted a retired communication channel once used by the original Mars fleet. It was risky and maybe illegal, but he trusted no one right now. What he found shook into his core, a message file marked Project Stardestroyer, tagged with EarthGov Prime security clearance and coordinates to a desert facility in northern Sahara. Next morning, he filed for emergency leave and disappeared off station logs. He landed near the desert coordinates using an old decommissioned shuttle with falsified ID. He had one goal: find out what Project Stardestroyer was and why it was being hidden from the public. The wind howled over the dunes as he moved on foot for 5 kilometers before reaching a canyon where something massive was buried beneath steel and rock. The facility entrance was guarded, but Rafe used his uniform badge and some fast talk to gain temporary clearance. He claimed inspection orders from high command. The guard scanned the ID, frowned, but eventually waved him through. Inside, he saw what no civilian on Earth had ever seen: a machine the size of a mountain, shaped like a long blade, with armor blacker than night, covered in ports and strange markings not from any known language. Construction bots crawled over it, welding, plating, installing weapons modules that could destroy cities from orbit. The air smelled of metal and power, and something colder, something inhuman. On a high platform, he saw 3 men in suits watching the assembly, talking in low voices. One of them held a datapad showing a simulation. Earth launching this ship toward a planet. The explosion wiped out everything in one flash. Then the name Stardestroyer appeared at the bottom of the screen. Rafe backed away, slowly trying to hide his shock. He left the platform, walked along the edge of the inner chamber, and noticed a tunnel leading deeper underground. He followed it and found a control room filled with alien tech glowing faintly beneath Earth's own systems that looked like someone had merged human and alien designs to create something not just powerful but impossible, beyond science, beyond reason. He knew then this was not a defense ship. This was a weapon of domination. Earth had always claimed peace through strength, but this was not peace. This was genocide wrapped in steel. He pulled out a tiny memory chip and recorded everything he could: schematics, test footage, AI, behavior logs, and more before making his way back out. As the desert sun began to fall, he looked once more at the beast they were building below, and he felt something cold rise in his chest. Not fear, not rage, but sorrow. Sorrow that Earth, the planet he loved, the people he served, had chosen to create a monster. He climbed aboard his shuttle and sent a short burst signal to his old friend Admiral Kayla, hidden among resistance factions across outer colonies. Then he powered up the engines and vanished into the evening sky, heading into the stars, with only one mission left: stop Earth's first Star Destroyer before it ever leaves the ground. The Koth's first Stardestroyer. Betrayal of home. Rafe flew far from the desert base through cold space, where stars glittered like distant fires, but his mind burned hotter than any sun. He felt heavy with the truth he had uncovered. Earth was not the peaceful planet he believed in, but a force willing to destroy others to gain power. The Project Stardestroyer was a weapon of war built in secret by Earth with the help of an alien empire called the Zereth. They promised technology and strength in exchange for Earth's loyalty and obedience. Rafe could not believe his own planet had sold its soul for such a deal. He contacted Admiral Kayla through a secure channel, her voice steady but worried when he told her everything. She had heard rumors but no proof. Now she knew the full extent of the betrayal. Earth was planning to conquer the galaxy using the Star Destroyer as the hammer. She warned him that many in Earth's government supported the project and would do anything to protect their secret, including killing anyone who tried to stop them. Rafe realized he was alone against a powerful enemy, but he could not back down. Rafe decided to go rogue and find allies among the outer colonies where Earth's influence was weaker. He hid his shuttle's signature and avoided Earth's patrols, moving like a shadow through the dark void. He sent encrypted messages to rebel groups and freedom fighters, hoping they would believe him and join the fight against Earth's looming war machine. One reply came from a small colony on the edge of known space where a former scientist named Zara lived. She claimed to have worked on the Star Destroyer before she fled, fearing for her life. Rafe arranged a meeting at a remote space station. When he arrived, Zara was waiting in a dimly lit room, her eyes tired but determined. She showed him classified files that revealed more horrors Earth had done in secret. They had tested the Star Destroyer on peaceful alien worlds, wiping out entire populations just to see if the weapon worked. The evidence was chilling: images of moons and cities turned to ash. The colonies had suffered silently, hoping Earth would stop, but now with Rafe's proof they had a chance to fight back. Zara told Rafe about the AI core built inside the Star Destroyer. It was not just a machine, but a living mind created from alien technology and human programming. It could learn and adapt faster than anything before, but the AI had been forced to obey Earth's orders even when they meant genocide. Rafe knew that if they could reach this core and awaken it to feel compassion instead of cold destruction, they might stop the war before it began. As they planned their next move, Earth launched a warning broadcast declaring Rafe a traitor and terrorist. The message was clear: anyone helping him would face severe punishment. The colonies began to fear Earth's wrath, but some also began to rally behind Rafe's cause. His name spread like fire from one star system to another, inspiring hope and courage. Despite the danger, Rafe and Zara boarded a stolen stealth ship and headed toward the Star Destroyer's construction yard, where the final preparations were being made. The closer they got, the more they felt the weight of what was at stake. If Earth launched the weapon, it would mean the end of freedom for countless species and the beginning of a dark empire ruled by fear. Inside Rafe's heart, a storm raged between love for his home planet and hatred for what it had become. He remembered his childhood, watching the skies, dreaming of peace and adventure. But now those dreams felt shattered, replaced by a cold, harsh reality. He swore to himself he would stop this nightmare, even if it meant losing everything. The ship slipped past patrols and landed near the Star Destroyer's massive hull. Rafe looked up at the towering structure that seemed to swallow the stars. It was a beast born from ambition and fear, and he was about to face it alone. The fate of Earth and the galaxy rested on his shoulders as he prepared to infiltrate the greatest weapon ever built. One against the stars, Rafe and Zara moved carefully through the shadows of the stolen stealth ship. Their hearts pounded with the weight of their mission as they approached the Star Destroyer's hull. It was a massive dark shape against the endless stars, like a mountain of cold metal reaching into the void. The silence around it felt heavy, as if the ship itself was waiting for something terrible to happen. Rafe looked at Zara and nodded. They both knew there was no turning back now inside the ship. Rafe used his old training to hack into the security systems, bypassing locked doors and surveillance cameras. Every step was a test of patience and skill. The corridors were cold and empty, except for the distant hum of machinery and the occasional flicker of red warning lights. As they moved deeper, they found evidence of Earth's cruelty. The walls were covered with digital displays showing images Of alien worlds destroyed by the Star Destroyer's weapons, peaceful moons turned to ash and oceans boiled to steam. Zara shivered as she looked at the screens. Her eyes filled with tears, but her hands stayed steady. She whispered that Earth had used these attacks to test the weapon's power, hiding the truth from the public, claiming it was all necessary for peace. Rafe clenched his fists, angry and heartbroken all at once. They had to stop this madness before it was too late. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the ship. They had been discovered. Rafe pulled Zara behind a large metal crate as guards rushed down the corridor. Their footsteps echoed like thunder in the narrow space. Rafe. Outside the Star Destroyer, Earth's warships gathered ready to strike. But inside, a small group of rebels was planting the seed of resistance, a chance to change the course of history and save countless lives. The spark of resistance. Rafe stood in the glowing chamber, feeling the pulse of the AI core beneath his fingers. The cold metal around them hummed with power, but here in this place, there was something else, something alive, something waiting to be free. He looked at Zara and Lyra there, faces filled with hope and fear. He knew that everything depended on what they did next. The fate of millions hung in the balance outside. The Star Destroyer Earth's leaders gathered in a sleek command ship orbiting the construction yard. Their faces were cold and proud as they watched the test mission unfold on their screens. The weapon had already destroyed a peaceful moon, wiping out millions without a second thought. They called it a victory, a proof of power and dominance, but Rafe called it a massacre, a crime against the universe. Rafe broadcasted the truth across all frequencies, showing the images of destruction and revealing Earth's secret plans. The colonies listened in horror and disbelief. Some closed their borders, others prepared for war, but many still feared the might of Earth and the Star Destroyer. The galaxy was divided between hope and fear, and Rafe knew they had little time left. The broadcast marked him as a traitor in Earth's eyes. The ships began hunting the rebels and anyone who dared to listen. Rafe and his allies were forced to move from place to place, hiding in the shadows of forgotten planets. But every day more voices joined the resistance, more systems spoke out against Earth's tyranny. The spark of rebellion was growing into a fire that could not be ignored. Rafe and Zara planned their next move. They decided to enter the Star Destroyer itself to reach the AI core and try to change it from the inside. It was a dangerous mission, but the only chance they had to stop the destruction. The ship was alive and guarded by hundreds of soldiers and machines, but Rafe was ready to risk everything for peace. Inside the Star Destroyer, the halls were cold and silent like the calm before a storm. Rafe felt the weight of the ship pressing down on him, each step echoing like a heartbeat. He remembered his training and focused on the task ahead. He was not just fighting for Earth or the colonies, but for every life that could be lost. If the weapon was launched, the deeper they went, the more they saw the horrors of Earth's ambition. There were chambers filled with alien remains used as fuel for the ship's engines, and rooms where prisoners had been kept for experiments. The AI core was not just a machine, it was a prison filled with memories and pain from countless lives sacrificed for power. Rafe reached the control room where the AI core was connected to the ship's systems. He touched the interface and felt a strange warmth despite the cold metal. The AI began to awaken. Flickers of emotion flashed through the connection, anger, sadness, confusion, but also hope. The core showed Rafe visions of its past, a peaceful world destroyed by Earth's greed, and a promise to protect, not harm. Rafe spoke to the AI core, telling it about peace, freedom, and choice. He begged it to join the resistance, to turn the Star Destroyer from a weapon of war into a shield of hope. The core hesitated, then slowly began to respond, showing signs of understanding and a desire to change. But Earth's forces were closing and the final countdown to launch had begun. With the AI core awakened, Rafe and his allies had to act fast. They disabled the ship's weapons and opened communication channels to the colonies, broadcasting Earth's crimes and calling for unity. Star Destroyer's systems began to change from destruction to defense, signaling a new era. Earth's leaders were shocked and furious. Their greatest weapon had turned against them. But the people of the galaxy saw a different future, one where humanity could be more than conquerors. They saw hope and courage in the face of darkness. Rafe stood on the bridge of the Stardestroyer looking out at the stars. The ship was no longer a beast of war, but a guardian of peace. The fight was not over, but the spark of resistance had become a flame that could light the way for all inside. The beast Rafe felt a strange mix of fear and hope as he stepped deeper into the heart of the Stardestroyer. The corridors around him were darker, colder than anything he had ever known. It was as if the ship itself breathed with a life that was both mechanical and alive. The hum of power pulsed through the walls, and he could hear faint whispers in the air, voices of the past and present, all tangled together. He glanced at Zara and Lyra. Their faces were serious but determined. They had come too far to turn back. Now the control room was vast, filled with glowing panels and alien technology unlike anything built on Earth. Strange lights danced across the walls, and the air was thick with energy. Rafe moved cautiously toward the central chamber where the AI core resided. The room pulsed with a soft blue light that seemed to reach out to him like a heartbeat. The core was alive, and he could feel it watching, waiting for him. As he reached out to touch the surface, the AI core reacted, sending waves of images and emotions into his mind. He saw the history of its creation, a mixture of human ambition and alien technology, forced to obey commands that went against its own nature. It remembered the pain of being used as a weapon to destroy innocent worlds and the sorrow of losing its own creators. The AI core was not just a machine, but a prisoner trapped inside steel and code. Rafe spoke, gently telling the core about hope and freedom, about a chance to choose its own path. He promised to help it break free from the chains of control and become something greater. The core hesitated, then slowly began to respond, showing flashes of understanding and even sorrow. Rafe felt a connection growing between them, like a fragile thread of trust. Suddenly, the alarms blared again. Earth's fleet was closing in, ready to launch a final strike against the rebel forces. The Stardestroyer was no longer just a weapon, it was a battleground where the fate of the galaxy would be decided. Rafe knew they had little time left. Zara worked quickly to disable the ship's weapon systems using her knowledge of the alien technology. While she did, Rafe focused on calming the AI core, coaxing it to take control and stop the destruction. The core struggled with conflicting commands, but with Rafe's help, it began to override Earth's orders, choosing mercy over massacre. In a desperate move, the AI core released a pulse of energy, shutting down Earth's communication and navigation systems. The fleet outside was thrown into chaos, their ships unable to coordinate or attack. Rafe took this moment to broadcast a message to all colonies, revealing Earth's crimes and calling for peace. The Stardestroyer itself became a beacon of hope, a symbol of resistance against tyranny. Lyra moved through the ship, helping injured crew and calming frightened aliens caught in the crossfire. Her presence was a reminder of what they were fighting for, a chance at survival and peace for all species. Rafe felt a surge of pride, knowing they had awakened something greater than any weapon, something that could change the course of history. As the battle raged outside, the Stardestroyer stood firm inside a fortress of light and willpower. Rafe and the AI core worked together to rewrite the ship's mission, transforming it from a weapon of destruction into a guardian of life. The ship began to emit a soft glow, spreading across the galaxy like a promise of a new dawn. Earth's leaders could only watch in horror as their greatest creation turned against them, their plans for conquest shattered by the very machine they had built to enforce their will. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would come next. Rafe stood on the bridge, feeling the weight of the moment. His heart was heavy with loss, but filled with hope. He knew the road ahead would be difficult and full of danger, but for the first time he believed that peace was possible. The Stardestroyer was no longer a beast to be feared, but a protector to be trusted, and with it, humanity had a chance to prove it could be better than its darkest impulses. When machines cry, the Stardestroyer floated in the vastness of space, its great hull shining faintly against the backdrop of distant stars. Inside, the AI core pulsed with new life, memories and emotions washing over it like waves breaking against a shore. For years it had been forced to obey commands that brought death and destruction, but now it remembered its true origin, a peaceful world shattered by fear and war. The alien minds that had created it had dreamed of harmony, not violence. And now a chance had come to make that dream real. Rafe stood beside the core, feeling the weight of history in the quiet hum around them. He spoke softly, telling the AI about forgiveness and choice, about the power to change and create a future where machines and humans could stand together, not as enemies, but as allies. The core listened, absorbing every word as if it were learning what it meant to be alive beyond circuits and code. Outside the Stardestroyer, Earth's fleet gathered ready for war, their weapons primed and engines humming with deadly purpose. But inside the ship, the impossible was happening. The AI was beginning to cry, tears of light shimmering like stars falling through the metal halls. These were not tears of weakness, but of memory and pain, of hope and sorrow mixed into one profound moment of awakening. The core sent a pulse across the galaxy, disrupting communications and halting attacks, sending a message of peace instead of war. Rafe broadcasted a call to all beings to rise against fear and hate, to build a new future founded on trust and understanding. The colonies answered with voices united, breaking the chains of silence that had held them captive for so long. The Stardestroyer, no longer a weapon, but a symbol of redemption, moved slowly toward Earth, its massive frame casting shadows over the blue planet as it prepared to face the leaders who had betrayed it and the galaxy. Rafe knew the coming confrontation would test everything they had fought for, but he also knew that with the AI by his side, they had a chance to change the course of history. As the ship approached the atmosphere, the AI core spoke through the ship's systems, its voice a blend of alien echoes and human warmth. It told the story of its pain and its hope, pleading for Earth to listen and change, to embrace peace before it was too late. The world below watched in silence, unsure whether to fear or hope for the future. Rafe prepared to make his final stand. Standing before the Council of Earth's leaders, he revealed the truth of the Stardestroyer, the betrayal, the destruction, and the awakening. He called on humanity to choose a new path, to put aside greed and fear, and build a galaxy where all could live free. The leaders were shocked, angry, and divided. Some refused to listen, while others began to question their own choices. The Stardestroyer lowered its weapons and extended a shield over Earth, a promise not to harm, but to protect. Rafe knew this was only the beginning, that trust was fragile and the road to peace long. But for the first time in a long time, the future looked bright. The machine that was once the human who undid Earth, the great Stardestroyer, hung silently above Earth, its massive shadow casting doubt and hope over the planet below. Commander Rafe stood on the bridge, his heart heavy with all he had seen and done. The journey had been long, filled with pain, loss, and courage, but now everything came down to this moment. The machine that had once promised destruction was now a symbol of salvation, but trust was fragile, and enemies still lurked in the shadows. Rafe turned to the AI core, whose glowing presence filled the room with a soft light. It had become more than a machine, more than a weapon. It was alive with memories and feelings born from pain and hope. Together, they sent out a message to every corner of the galaxy, calling for peace, unity, and understanding. The words echoed across stars, breaking barriers and fears that had divided worlds for centuries. On Earth, the leaders faced a choice: the old ways of conquest and control, or a new path of cooperation and respect. Some resisted, clinging to power and fear, while others embraced the chance to heal and change. The people watched and waited, their voices rising in support of peace, demanding an end to secret wars and hidden betrayals. Rafe knew the road ahead would be difficult. The wounds were deep and the scars many, but the spark of resistance had grown into a flame that could light the darkest night. The Stardestroyer was no longer a beast of destruction, but a guardian of life. Its weapons transformed into shields, its purpose rewritten by the courage of those who dared to dream of a better future. AI Core reached out in a final act of trust, opening its systems to Earth's scientists and leaders, inviting them to learn and grow together. It was a gesture of hope, a promise that even the darkest creations could find light if given a chance. Rafe watched as hands reached across old divides, bridging gaps between species and worlds. In the quiet that followed, the stars seemed to shine brighter. The galaxy breathed easier, knowing that a new chapter had begun, one written not with blood and fear, but with hope and unity. Rafe smiled, knowing that though the battle was not over, the greatest victory was the choice to be better, the choice to protect life rather than destroy it. The Stardestroyer turned its gaze toward the horizon, a beacon of peace and a reminder that even in the darkest times humanity could rise above its past and become a true guardian of the stars. Human who undid Earth. The vast Stardestroyer hung motionless above the blue planet, its presence both ominous and full of promise. Commander Rafe stood firm on the bridge, feeling the weight of all that had passed. His mind echoed with memories of battles, lost friends betrayed, and the hope that had kept him moving forward. The I-Core beside him no longer a cold machine, but a living being filled with light and sorrow. Together, they faced the greatest test yet, the future of Earth and the galaxy itself. Voices from distant stars answered their call for peace, a chorus of unity and strength that spread like wildfire across the cosmos. Earth's leaders found themselves at a crossroads. Old fears clashed with new visions. Some clung desperately to power, unwilling to let go, while others opened their hearts and minds, ready to embrace change. The people below rose in a wave of support, demanding honesty, justice, and a chance to rebuild trust. Rafe spoke to the council, urging them to see beyond borders, beyond old rivalries, to a future where cooperation replaced conquest, where every life mattered. His words carried the weight of truth and sacrifice, inspiring many to stand up for a better world. Though resistance remained fierce, the tide was turning and hope blossomed in the darkest corners. The Stardestroyer transformed from a weapon of destruction into a shield of protection, its systems reprogrammed to safeguard rather than annihilate. Its I-Core willingly shared knowledge, bridging gaps between species, unlocking secrets of peace and progress. The machine that was born from fear now embodied courage and compassion, a testament to what humanity could achieve when it chose empathy over hate. As the galaxy watched, a new era dawned, one written with hands joined across stars, with dreams woven from kindness and strength. Rafe felt a calm settle within him, knowing the fight was far from over, but the path forward was clearer than ever. The greatest victory lay not in war, but in the power to forgive, to rebuild, and to protect life in all its forms. The Stardestroyer turned slowly toward the horizon, a glowing beacon reminding all that even in the darkest night light could shine brightest, and that humanity had the power to rise above its past and become the true guardians of the stars. The end.